What do you mean you don't have a sense of humor? Everyone has a sense of humor. Oh, well, you just need to broaden your sense of humor. That's all. That was a conversation that I had with one of my clients. And that conversation is what sparked today's episode. In today's episode, the second episode of the Lighten Up Project, you'll discover a more comprehensive discussion and definition and explanation of humor. You'll consider for a moment what life would be like without humor. And then we'll discuss how humor is not just the icing on the cake. It's that ingredient, that essential ingredient that makes the difference between having the cake melt in your mouth or get stuck in your throat. Merriam-Webster defines humor as the quality which appeals to the sense of the ludicrous or absurdity, the incongruous behavior. It's that funny or amusing quality. It's also something that is designed to be comical or amusing. Scott Dikkers of theonion.com, it's that political newspaper, he defines humor as a gamification of language. I like that. Gamification. Peter McGraw, who wrote the Humor Code, he says that humor is a benign violation. Now, I agree with those. I agree with that, all of that. I define humor like a tree, like a family tree. It's the humor tree. Think of the tree where one branch, it has several branches, and one branch is comedy. Now, comedy is what a lot of people first think of when they think of humor. Comedy is that thing that we do that's supposed to be, that it's designed to be comical or amusing. It's designed to make us laugh. Jokes, the jokes we use, that's humor, that's comedy, right? These are man-made devices. These are, yes, there are a lot of incongruity. We'll get into, joke writing, our joke structure a little bit later in future episodes. Not too much, because this is not a comedy podcast, right? How to do comedy. But it's essential that we understand the general, simple the structure, the general structure of a joke and the incongruity. And anyway, this is all part of the comedy branch on our humor tree. Now, there is another branch, which is play. And play is natural, right? So yes, it's about being funny or amusing, but it's natural sense of what's fun, what's amusing. right? It's a natural sense of play, for lack of a better word. It's closer to Scott Dicker's gamification of language definition. That's how I think of humor, and that's how I say everyone has a sense of humor because we were all born with the sense of play. We were all born with peekaboo, peekaboo, that sense of play, the giggles. Animals have that sense of play. Jane Goodall with her chimps, she talked a lot about how her chimps played, how they had a sense of humor with her and with each other. Play ball. Orangutans play tricks on each other all the time. Think about dogs. Any dog owners out there? Yeah, think about your dog. Think about playing fetch with your dog. So you throw the ball, your dog goes and gets the ball and then brings it back, but stops short. Doesn't come all the way back, brings it back, stops short. And so you approach and you reach down, and as soon as you do, bam, the dog runs away. That's play. That's the dog playing with you. That's the type of natural humor that we all have. We were all born with it. Some of us might have gotten it depending on our atmospheres that we grew up in. We might have had to put on our serious survival masks on, and therefore we let go of play. That survival, that fight or flight, and so the play has gone away, but it's still there. We might have to dig down with cranes and shovels, but it's there. It's there. Hopefully not years and years of therapy, but if you do, just come see me, please, because I could use all your money for years and years of therapy. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You don't need years and years of therapy to find that, hopefully, to get back to that point. But it's there. It is down deep. It's there. So that's how I say that everybody has a sense of humor. Now imagine, if you will, for a moment, imagine what life would be like without humor. For those of you that think that humor is optional, I really want you to think about what your life would be like without humor. What would your conversations be like without humor? What would your day-to-day be like without humor? Humor is how we manage difficulty. Humor releases laughter Now I'll get into laughter, because laughter and play and humor, they're all intertwined. They're all intertwined. So now I'll talk specifically about laughter. Laughter releases the feel-good hormones. Laughter is like that escape valve for stress and anxiety. So without that escape valve, the pressure's just going to build and build and build and build and whoo, just like that. Ooh, that whistle. And we're just going to explode. It's just stress and anxiety. That would be our lives. Think about it. Humor is a social lubrication, right? And without it, everything it stops. It grinds together, and your connections with each other, it wouldn't be warm, wouldn't be safe, there wouldn't be any playful connections. All of your relationships would just be transactional. Wouldn't be any fun. Humor helps us have the permission to fail and then try again, which is the only way to be creative. It's the only way to be successful, is to take those risks. Humor is the groundwork for those risks. Think about Edison, Thomas Edison. Okay, 999 times that he tried and failed, or just didn't make the light bulb. 999 times he did that. Without humor, perfection takes over. Without humor, risk disappears. Creativity just shrinks because you have all that anxiety, all that stress, all that, oh, I tried this one time and it didn't work. I tried this second time and it didn't work. I tried it 3 times and it didn't work. Without humor, Einstein, Edison wouldn't have gone 999 times of failure before the 1000th time when he actually successfully came up with the light bulb. No, 3 times. That's it. He would have said, that's it. I'm throwing in the towel. I don't need this crap. So we need humor. We need humor in order to have hope. Because when you think about it, hope requires imagination. We can't hope if we can't imagine. Imagine this better life. Hope for this better life. I could never have thought of or imagined creating the World Laughter Organization without hope. And I could never have done that without humor, because there would have been all that stress and all that anxiety. And see, laughter, when we laugh, it stimulates the prefrontal cortex, which is the area in our brains that is responsible for creation. So without laughter, without humor, there's no imagination. And without imagination, there's no hope. So, for those of you who have tried to be funny, you've tried to be humorous, not even funny, you've tried to be humorous, and it's fallen flat. And so you've left that transaction thinking, or you've left that, transaction, that relationship thinking, I'm not funny. I can't be funny. I can't do this. Well, think about this. Whenever there is a connection between two people, a conversation, both people have to be prepped and ready to have that conversation. If you think about having a conversation with your child. If your child is screaming and crying and you're trying to have this connection with your child, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. You're wasting your breath because that child is going through something right now. You're not on the same page. You're not ready to converse. Think about when you were a child and you were playing in the sandbox, playing with someone else. You had rules. You were both prepped. This is what we're going to do. We're building the sandcastle together. When you're utilizing humor, when you're trying to be humorous or funny or amusing, you'll need that agreement with your audience. Audience being the person or persons that you're talking with. There needs to be that agreement. You need to prep the audience. So consider maybe when you tried to be humorous in the past, it wasn't the right time. The audience wasn't ready. People weren't ready for it. I had a conversation the other day that I want to talk about. I was conversing with a mother, and her son was nearby, just sitting nearby. He was playing with his phone, and the mother asked me, "Well, Malcolm, what are you going to do the rest of the day?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to work." And the son goes, "Uh-huh." And very playful. That was a playful, humorous moment. Very natural. Uh-huh. You know, like, you have to go to work. Right? And my response to the little boy was, why I oughta, with my hand, faking like I was gonna hit the boy. Now, the first part of that transaction was more along the lines of that gamification of language that Scott Dickers talks about. And that second part, why I oughta, that's the benign violation from Peter McGraw. Because we all know that, well, maybe I know, and anybody that knows me knows, maybe you guys don't know it yet, but you'll get to know me through this podcast. You'll know I'm not the type that would go around hitting a kid. So when I go, why I oughta, that is a joke. That's benign. We all know it's not going to happen. Like the mother and I knew that it wasn't going to happen. Even the kid knew I wasn't going to hit him, right? So the mother and the kid knows that Malcolm's not going to hit him, but that's a violation in a sense because here's this adult who is threatening to hit a child. It's a violation. I'm threatening you. It's a benign violation, right? So humor really, it encompasses a whole lot of things. It encompasses comedy. It encompasses play. It encompasses gamification and benign violations. Humor is really all of it. It's the humor tree, y'all. I want to tell you about a story when I first started stand-up comedy. First time, or actually before I started stand-up comedy, my very first open mic. My very first open mic was this happened at a place called the Other Cafe. And I was so nervous that night. I didn't want anybody coming, anybody that I knew, not anybody coming, but anybody that I knew, I didn't want them to come. Friends, family, I told no one. And if someone found out, I said, look, don't come. Do not come. I will beat you up if you come. I really will. I will hurt you. But so luckily I didn't have to hurt anyone because no one I knew came. And on that night, another thing that was really lucky was that the space was a really small space and it was really dark. So it was easy because it was small. It was very easy to make it very dark. The only light source was the spotlight on the comedian on stage. So it was easy for me to slip into the cafe and backstage, and I introduced myself. I told the MC who I was, gave him my name. I'm Malcolm Grissom. I'm here for my first night. He said, fine, you got 3 minutes here. He told me about the lights, and you'll get a light at 3 minutes, and that means you need to get off stage. And that was great. So I was, while the rest of the show was going on, I was thinking about my jokes. I was going over my jokes in my head over and over and over again. And then when it was my turn, the MC announces me as, please welcome Malachi Chisholm. Malachi Chisholm. And I freeze for a second. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? But then I get on stage and my rage takes over and I just start ranting. Malachi Chisholm? What, Malachi Chisholm? My name is not Malachi Chisholm. I am not an Amish porn star. My name is Malcolm Grissom. Malcolm as in Malcolm X, and Grissom as in Gus Virgil Grissom. Malcolm Grissom. Very proud of my name. I spent the entire 3 minutes just ranting about my name. My jokes just flew out of my head. I think maybe I got 1 or 2 of my jokes out, but everything else was just me ranting. And I may have gotten one or two laughs, but that was about it. And then there was that light at 3 minutes. So I had to get off stage. And I remember getting off stage and thinking, oh man, I sucked. I'm never going to be successful at this. I'm never going to be great at this. I blew it. That was my first open mic, and I blew it at all, and I wasn't funny at all. And so a year later, I was working as a security guard at a party. So I was in my security outfit working at this party. This young woman comes up to me and says, "Hey, weren't you that guy that did the comedy about your name? You were at the other cafe, right?" "Yeah, you're funny." And that's when I realized, that's the first time I realized that being funny, being humorous, has nothing to do with comedy. It has nothing to do with the comedy branch of the humor tree. Being humorous comes from just being amazing, amazing, being amusing, being natural. Sometimes just being yourself. You know, some things that I say, I remember as a comedian, one of the things that I would say, one of my first jokes that it worked on almost every crowd that I would talk to, is I would go up and I would say, "I'm not gay, I'm Hawaiian." And I don't know why, to this day, I don't know what's funny about that, but I tell you, every time it worked. Every time with every audience. "I'm not gay, I'm Hawaiian." And so humor's just natural. It's play. With that, I want to leave you today with a couple of things that you can do to help experience your humor and grow your humor. The first thing that you can do is go get a journal. Go start a humor journal. Start a humor journal. And experience all the different types of comedy there is out there. You know, parody, the sarcasm, slapstick, all of the different types. Experiment with them. Even if you think you have a really good idea of your humor, experiment, because you never know. Humor changes as we get older, right? As we grow, our humor, our experience is going to change, and how we experience things. So keep experimenting with the different genres of humor as well, and different genres of comedy, singing, the comedians, the movies, live comedy versus a comedy in a movie, and comedy in songs. Experiment through all that, and then in your humor journal, take note. What makes you laugh? What consistently makes you laugh? What kind of humor consistently makes you laugh? Also, keep note of, well, do I say things that make other people laugh? What do I say that make other people laugh? What do I do that make other people laugh? You know, what do other people do that make other people laugh? Make a note of all of that stuff. Make a note of, oh, my dog, I'm playing fetch with my dog, and my dog's playing hide and seek, and come and get it. But no, you can't get it at the last minute. And that's humorous. That's humorous for the dog, and I think that's pretty funny. That the dog thinks that's funny, and dog's playing. Make a note of all of that. And then I want you to try something else. I want you to try forced laughter and note the difference between forced laughter and genuine laughter. How do you feel? Do you feel a different way between forced laughter and genuine laughter? How is it specifically? And write this down. And I say write it down because when there's a connection between the brain and the rest of the body, and so when we're actually physically writing things, there's that brain-body connection, that mind-body connection there. So write it down. And then I want you to gamify, think about how you can gamify different situations, either at home or at work, right? How can you gamify? I teach improv, so applied improv, that is a way to gamify. So in my improv classes, I bring up scenarios, actually, because it's applied improv. It's not theatrical improv necessarily. It's applied improv. I bring up everyday scenarios, ways that you can take some of these improv games and apply them to your real life or your home life. So I teach that improv, and I teach 4 classes a week. I combine improvisation with laughter techniques because I'm a certified laughter leader as well. And I'm giving 30 days complimentary. So go in the show notes and find out how you can get 30 days complimentary of virtual improv classes. And that, folks, is our episode number 2. Come back next week for episode number 3, when we'll have yet another stimulating conversation. But until then, remember, healing doesn't have to be heavy, because hope sounds like laughter.